Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of the Good Bit podcast. Welcome in, we're here for another episode. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's lovely to be speaking to you all again. My name is Chris Moffat and as always, I am your host and we are here for an iconic film today. It is of course Baz Luhrmann's iconic Moulin Rouge from 2001, starring Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman. A powerhouse film, a powerhouse cast, and what a guest we have, ladies and gents, on the Good Bit this week. Scottish theatre and writing royalty, ladies and gents, an icon in his own right, ladies and gents, is Mr. Johnny McKnight. I've not even started recording yet, Johnny. Wait there, I'll record to this device, not to the cloud. The device seems a little bit more reliable than the cloud.
I never trust it. I'm like, where is this cloud? Where does it exist?
Where is the cloud? How do people get stuff in there is one thing.
How do you get other folk coming into it? No, that folk are that interested in what we've got to say about you, Chris. Do you know what I mean? The Russians aren't really going to go, let's go and hear what they're saying about Moulin Rouge and their love for Nicole Kidman. I don't think that's going to be a risk factor, but still, you never know.
You don't know. You know, it's like Alexa. You know what I mean? It's like why people don't want to talk around her. Do you know what I mean? So
the bigger audience I have, the better, Alexa. Listen and enjoy yourself.
Big Brother's always listening.
Exactly.
All right, we're here, Johnny. It's a pleasure to talk to you today. Really appreciate you coming on. And I was just saying to you that I was looking at Tyler Collins on Twitter there, and he's been on the podcast before. And then earlier on this month, I had Cole Stewart on the podcast.
All right, aye.
That was the last time I saw you perform, was at the Tron panto back in December. And I said to both of them, out of all the pantos I saw late 2022, I think I saw 4 or something. Yours was by far my favourite. And I'm not just saying that. I had like close friends and other ones. I'm just not going to tell them. But yours was my favourite. How was it doing panto this time of year?
Do you know, Chris, I love it. I've done it now for years. So I have sat in panto now since, oh God, I can't remember the first time. But I've done it for about 18 years or something like that now.
Yep.
But last year, I'm not going to lie, I was nervous getting into it because I hadn't done anything for 3 years because of COVID and all that. So it was a wee bit like I hadn't been on a stage for nearly 3 years. So you know that way you go, I think everybody does it, don't you? When you perform, you just go, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And then as soon as you've got an audience, you're like, oh, aye, it's fine. I remember what you did. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
The biggest thing was fitness levels was shocking. Like,
really?
Oh, shocking. It was shocking. Like the first day back at rehearsals. And I think because I only really day panto, do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I'm not the most castable actor, do you know what I mean? I don't put myself in spotlight anywhere because you're like, I'm limited what I can play. I can play somebody for Ayrshire, possibly a hairdresser at a push, if no somebody called Johnny. That's about my 2 main roles I could do, or a dame in a panto. And so I don't really pick myself up for that anymore. But I just had forgot because I'd been sitting at a desk for so long writing in that I was like, oh, you forget that actually. You need to be physically fit to do this. And I mean, don't get me wrong, by the end of it, I was like, all right, it's a shame I never started it like this. Right. The first week of rehearsals, I was like a broken man. I mean? I was like, oh, I can't believe that I forget how hard. But I love it. Like, I wouldn't change it. You go, it's a total privilege. You give folk their Christmas night out.
That's it.
I mean, and like, you do, and the great thing about panto, especially for somebody like me who's got a wee bit of, well, self-diagnosed. I've never been to the doctors, but I'm sure I've got ADHD or something like that. So it's good for me because you never do the same show twice. You know what I mean? You just you get to vamp with the audience and, you know, whatever they're up for, you can kind of gauge it and all that and just come off the script. And if anything goes wrong, it's no a disaster. The show's no over. It's actually all adds to the madness of it, which I love.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never done the full-on, like, you know, 2 shows a day for whatever it is, 7 weeks or whatever it is, you know, in December sort of time. And it's like, always go and see them every year and it always looks so absolutely exhausting, do you know what I mean? But it looks so much fun. You know, I worked at the Pavilion Theatre, like I worked there front of house, and I saw the same panto every night for that amount of time.
The whole run.
The whole run, aye. Well, I say that, it was the one that got cut short because of COVID, so it like finished on Christmas Eve, do you know what I mean? So they missed a bit of week.
But still,
aye.
It's mad. I mean, it's great though, like you just go, and it's no for everybody, like that is the thing. You go, some actors absolutely are like, no, for me. And in a way, I think that's fine because you go, like, I did a Shakespeare once and I was a bit like, that's not for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't I had a nice time doing it. I loved all the folk I was working with. I really enjoyed it, but I was like, at the end of it, I've done that. I spent more time trying to work out what I was saying. Do you know what I mean? Like, the paranoia of not knowing if I was saying things right and talking in a language I didn't quite get and trying to make sense. So it's that thing, and you just need to know what you like and what you love and all that. And if you're lucky, you get to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I did a Shakespeare show within my college. Like, it was like a thing we were doing at summertime. Shakespeare in this courtyard, and it was like an outdoor thing or whatever. And like, it was a total disaster. Like, it was all windy and stuff like that, and it just threw everybody off. No one really knew what they were saying. It's either for you or it's not. You know
100%,
what I mean?
100%. And you go, mere power to all those folk that absolutely love it. I'm like, there's plenty of them. I'll stick to panto. I'll stick to stoating about singing and dancing at the side. Do you know what I mean?
And listen, if that's what you enjoy, then that's what you do. Do you know what I mean? It's all about finding stuff that, you know, is the most enjoyable part of it. You know, you don't want to make it a chore, you know?
No. As my pal Anita Vitesi always says, just remember you're playing at shops.
Aye.
And like, do you know what I mean? So if you're playing at shops, you want to make sure it's the shop that you want to work in. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
You want to find the thing that you love and the kind of genre you love and that bit. And I've been dead lucky, do you know what I mean? Because like a day Tron and a day McRobert, and both of them I get to have a pure hoot on it. Do you know what I mean? You get to work with your pals, and even if you don't know them, the event you work that closely, you end up getting to know everybody really well because you know being at 10 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night is going to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Every night, every day, absolutely. You become a wee family. Totally. Yeah, I know what you mean though about like the whole returning to stage or whatever after COVID. I know everybody is going to use that as an excuse, do you know what I mean? But it was so true. I went to the Fringe last year. I did a wee quick run at the Fringe, and it was like when I was about to do the show, I was like getting back into the groove and stuff. I've not done this in a while and stuff, but I was like, what if I forget something? You know what I mean? Like, what if I forget that I have to say all these words? It's just second nature before, but I hadn't done it for 3 years. Yeah. So I was like, what on earth? What's going to happen? Like, is the whole show going to fall apart?
And did you find that it was all just there, Chris, when you went back, or were you like kind of going, oh, like how did you fun it when you went back to it?
It was all right. It was a kind of community theatre kind of company, so there wasn't a lot of other kind of like people who call themselves actors. Do you know what I mean? It was like a lot of people just volunteering and stuff like that as well. So it was like relying on them for cues and things, which is always a nightmare. But once we kind of get into the swing of things, it was fine. But at first I was terrified, absolutely terrified. I'm quite a confident person, but when it comes to that, I was like, I want to make sure I don't want to be the one that lets the side down. Totally. You know what I mean? That's the one thing.
And it's that thing of like learning lines, like it is a brain test. Like, you know what I mean? Like you go and it is that thing of if you don't use that part of your brain, like it does get harder. You know what I mean? If you're in the and actually, weirdly enough, I found that easier than I thought it was. It was the physical thing. The brain stuff seemed to go in all right, but you still, I don't know about you, but I always find part of the thing I always get stressed about performing in a show. I'm always like, what if I forget? What if I don't know it? What if one day, because I've dried on stage. I mean, I dried a million 1 year in panto where I was like show 47 and could not remember where I was. And folk were feeding me my cue lines, and I was literally like, I don't have a clue what I'm saying here. Somebody had to run off stage and bring on the script for me. Now, luckily it was panto and folk were screaming laughing, and you can take the mick out yourself for it. And it was Robbie Jack who loved that. I had no idea what I was doing on stage, but it felt like the longest minute of my entire life where I was like, this is it. This is the moment where I'll never go back on the stage because I don't know how to remember words. When actually all it was is that thing where you lose concentration because you're thinking, yes, show 47, I know what I'm doing, and then you're
exactly.
No, you don't. Get back on it. I need something that'll wake you back up.
It's horrendous, isn't it? You just sit there and you go, oh my God, I have no idea what to say. Oh man. Well, obviously, Tron Panto's become, you know, something that you're really known for. But what I know you for is through Smalltown, right? I kind of mentioned this on the email I sent you, right? So when I was at drama college, Smalltown kind of like became like the play that I always used for things, right?
Right.
More so, so my main kind of speech was the one of the boxing kangaroo one. That was like my speech. And then my showcase scene was the one where she grows the tail. Both scenes, not yours.
Not mine.
However, the scene that's used the most, I think, and people look at and remember the most memorable scene from that play is Margaret and Trudy, isn't it? From the Stuck in the Freezer.
I have seen that at quite a few college shows. I have to say, a few college grad shows. It's like Smalltown. It's kind of weird because Smalltown, loads of schools seem to do it, and like
schools, absolutely.
And like schools and colleges seem to do it quite a lot. I get quite a lot of emails for folk just Like,
Aye.
I think looking for a bigger, deeper meaning in what's there, do you know what I mean? But literally, it was one of these shows, me and my pal Julie, we left college and we formed a theatre company called Random Accomplice. We ran it for nearly 15 years. We've actually just dissolved it now because, there was, everything's got a shelf life, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Smalltown came about because it was a review of one of our shows, and the reviewer, it was Mark Fisher for The Guardian, who wrote about one of our shows. There must be something in the water in Ayrshire that's produced Ayrshire playwrights Johnny McKnight, Douglas Maxwell, and DC Jackson. And I went, And I knew them both socially. Like, I loved Douglas. He mentored me when I was writing my first play.
Cool.
And Daniel when I worked in the Sits bar, Daniel worked at the Sits as well. So I kind of knew both them socially and all that. And I was like, I'm just going to ask them if we maybe do like a wee something about Ayrshire and what is in the water in Ayrshire, and we'll write wee mini plays about each based in their home tunes. And that became Smalltown. And I mean, it's funny because it was a total love letter to Ardrossan, and I worked for years in Safeway, showing my age there. I worked at the Safeway cafe for nearly 10 years. My two really best pals were Margaret and Trudy. And and the Saturday lassie was literally we called her Dolly Murphy. Her name wasn't Dolly, but we called her Dolly Murphy because she always get things wrong. Weirdly enough, she's now married to my best pal's wee brother, right? It's quite bizarre. I just thought, I'm going to write a love letter to when I worked in that supermarket to Margaret Trudy. So I didn't even change their names. Like, I didn't change their names a bit. It was one of the quickest things I've ever written.
Really?
I did it. It was so quick. I wish I could write like that all the time, but it was because I know how to write about these two women. I know exactly what we talk about. I know the routine of opening up a coffee shop. And it was kind of amazing when we did it. And like, we toured it all in Scotland and stuff, and the audiences really went for it. And you voted on whatever tune, one tune got allowed to be saved, and you voted for what tune get the antidote at the end. And then you kind of got it. So it was like a choose your own end, and the audience voted.
Yeah.
And it was like a total brilliant night. We went to Kilmarnock, which was the Ayrshire, the kind of tune in Ayrshire that we could get for the programme. And Margaret and Trudy were there seeing it, and my mum and dad were there. And my mum was up screaming, vote Ardrossan and all that. Like, it was a riot. And it was so amazing watching them when they were literally just going, Ming, that day she did a change that bin bag. I'll never forgive her for that. Like, it's just one of the plays, like, it's kind of nice that folks still really like it. But I think it's because, like, the thing that I loved about that whole project is it was very Scottish in terms of take a big ridiculous sci-fi situation and then plonk it in, like, you know what I mean, plonk it and it feels like a different thing. Do you know what I mean? Like Shaun of the Dead and all that. Like, it's dead Scottish sense of humour, and I think that's what I think that's why folks still like it. Do you know what I mean?
It's so relatable. I think that's, one of the big reasons, you know what I mean? That's what I was going to ask you. Like, how do you feel when you're, auditioning people, or you're watching it and you're literally watching like someone doing your writing essentially?
It's bizarre.
It's weird.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre because sometimes I absolutely hate it because all I see is things I'd want to change in the script.
Got you.
So I'm watching it going, oh, why did I write that? That's a stinker of a line. Oh, that hasn't aged well. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm really critical of myself. So, but I think it's really flattering. I think anybody that says it's nose at it. Like, of course it's flattering. I think it's flattering that if somebody likes something you've written, they want to do that as something that they would use as their thing, or anything you've been involved in. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was thrilling. Even, I think Smalltown might have been the first script we ever got published.
Right,
so that was like amazing to see your name on a script. Like, that wee thrill doesn't disappear.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? I remember even the first time as an actor and seeing my name in the script and the biog and all that. I was like, oh my God, I've got, like, if I die, my name might still exist somewhere. It's written down somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. Absolutely. It has absolutely, like, affected people. Do you know what I mean? In terms of, like, wanting to get into more Scottish theatre and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I was doing that boxing kangaroo monologue I'd been doing for ages.
So good.
And my lecturer at the time, Ian Grieve, obviously told me that you're coming in to do like a mock audition or whatever. And I was like, oh, Ian, I don't know if I can do that, monologue from that play. And he's like, you have to do it for him. And I didn't know if it was going to be like a pure ready. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're sitting going, I've done this already. But like, it must be weird seeing, your name on all these things.
But it's also that thing of going, like it's like seeing things like mock auditions and all that. I know that's a terrible thing to admit, right? It's actually quite nice when it's something you've actually directed or worked on, because you can then go, can you try that again? But this time,
Right.
think about this bit where he's talking about Montgomery and date with a twitch, and you know what I mean? So like there was I directed years ago a show where loads of young people. I played DNA that loads of folk do.
Right.
Like now it's still done loads. Dennis Kelly. And I've seen a bit of, I mean, I'm no lying, anytime you do auditions with young people, usually the lassies do a speech for DNA.
Yep.
I'm always a bit like, yes, I know how to direct this. This is good. I can totally get in about it. And like, we can actually work together, because it's not me going, what's that about? What happens before it and what happens after it? So and folk think you're always comparing it to something else, but there's not, it's like singing a song. Like folk have their own twist on it. It never sounds the same way twice. Yeah. I mean, like, when you go, so like, your version's not going to be the same as Richard Conlon, just by your age, by your location, your accent. It's going to be totally different. It's a different feel, which is the kind of exciting thing about why we do acting and all that, in it, is to go with the bring to the part and stuff.
Doing it differently. Yeah, absolutely. That's funny you say that. Richard Conlon was in that Scots play with Tyler Collins, and I was like, what I saying about this earlier on. I was like, oh, aye, he was in the original. Was the original cast of Smalltown, or was that?
He was original. He was Hanny. He was original cast. And the only reason I got into doing panto was because, well, I'd been doing it. The only reason I got into working at McBob, I'd been working at Dunfermline doing panto, but the only reason I got into McBob, which I've been there now for nearly 15 years, on and off, was because Richard Conlon turned it down and I was second choice. Aye, and if it hadn't been for him turning it down, I would never have got to write a panto, because then I did a couple of years there and I was like, can I not write next year's panto? I think you should be letting somebody Scottish write it. So Richard Conlon seems like he's the Kevin Bacon of Degrees of Separation or whatever, innit?
He's kicking about in New York as well.
I know.
So how did it get started for you in terms of wanting to perform and stuff? Obviously, you mentioned how you get started in panto, but what was like the first kind of thing that made you want to go, I want to be an actor or a performer or whatever?
Do you know, when I was like as in like really young, I guess I used to do like writing plays in my bedroom, or we never had ampere dressing, so we didn't have drama in the days. There was no like, you get drama as part of your English, and I always loved doing the reading out or whatever. I'll be John Proctor and all that. But it was never like done as in standing up. It was just like standard grade and then higher English or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then when I was about 17, a letter came round just advertising for a youth theatre, and it was in Glasgow. And I was like, do you know what? I might go to that, because I'd done all right in my exams in 5th year. So I was kind of just 6 years was my coasting year. Do you know what I mean? So I thought, I'm going to go up to that wee youth theatre and see what like it is. And then as soon as I went, I was like, oh, I love this. Like, it felt like I'd met my pals. Like, loads of people for that youth theatre are still like my best pals to this day.
Yeah.
And I, like, for the film I'm talking about, like, that was my best pal, Michelle. That's my best pal, Michelle. Met her at youth theatre, and like, can't imagine, and my pal Joe, and we all met at that place, and it just felt like something had clicked that I hadn't quite felt before. Do you know what I mean? It, like, I found sort of, I didn't even know I loved this, and I didn't think I was good enough for it, and I was going to go and study law. I'd get into law school at Strathclyde, and the youth theatre director, all my pals at youth theatre were all applying to RSA, the Conservatoire now, but RSA back in the days, or Langside, or Coatbridge, all the different colleges. I'd never heard any of them. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know you could do things like that, if I'm being honest. I didn't know you even went to study to be an actor, really. And the director pulled me aside and was like, I don't understand why you're not going to drama school when everybody else is. And they were like, if you want to go to drama school, I'll be your reference. And I was like, oh, no, what am I going to do? But I was going to law, so I kept on it. I did my first year at law, and I started my first lecture, and I've told this story loads, but it's when you go fate sticks, it's nebbined in it. And the first lecture I got in my law, it was a big, massive lecture hall, 300 folk, this wee tiny guy stoats it, and he's like, the first line, not a word of lie, he said, there's more unemployed lawyers in Scotland than there is actors.
You're joking. That's what he said?
Swear to God. The first thing he said, in my heart, I went, I'm out. I'm quitting this. And I did at the end of first year, I quit it. And I went and worked in my coffee shop that I ended up writing Smalltown about. I worked in there for 2 years till I eventually got into drama school. And I just kept auditioning. I was my third attempt before I got into drama school. But I was like, I'm just doing it. And to be fair, I was so clueless, and it was pre-internet days. I didn't know there was any other drama schools other than the RSMD. So I just was like, I'll apply there, and if I don't get in, I'll apply next year. I didn't go anywhere else, didn't make any other auditions. Partially because I didn't know there was other places. And also because I was like, well, I want to go to uni. I don't want to go to a college because you didn't get the funding I was allowed a false start, and I couldn't afford to pay my own fees or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? That's the background I've came for. So I was like, I need to go to this place because I can't do an HNC because I'll not get funded if I want to go to college and blah. But I just kind of kept in it, joined Amdram groups, was writing plays and all that all the time, just trying to keep I was so clueless that I went and auditioned for drama school, and I did Othello as my monologue.
All right.
They said to me, do you think you'd be a good Othello? And I was like, I'm a bit young. I had no idea. I'd never done a Shakespeare. I'd never heard it. I just knew how to do a Shakespeare monologue. I went through Shakespeare plays in the library, and I seen Othello had a big speech, and I went, oh, I think I understand that. And they went, you do understand that he's a moor? And I went, yeah, because there's a lot of farms round about me. I thought moor was a farm. Do you know what I mean? I was ready to know, like clueless.
Right.
Then another time I auditioned, they said to me, that's a really good speech. What's it for? And I said, oh, the internet did exist then. And I went, oh, I got it on the internet. And they went, what else happens in the play? And I went, oh, I can't be bothered reading it. I wasn't even lying. I can't be bothered reading it. I went, that'll do, I'll just learn that.
Give me the speech, aye.
Totally. Aye. I wouldn't advise anybody who does that. There's a reason I didn't get any years, do you know what I mean?
It took you 3 times.
Totally.
3 times.
Totally.
You got there at the end.
I got there in the end.
And you've written all these pantos and stuff, and look at you now, do you know what I mean? Imagine you didn't leave that law degree though. Oh my God.
Well, I mean, the thing is I could still see myself as a lawyer. I loved the drama of it, do you know what I mean? I thought watching about a courtroom would be excellent. Like, I thought Alan McBeal and all that, do you know what I mean? That was like my legal reference points. I thought it was the drama of it I loved, and the wee wig and all that. And then you're like, oh, that's not what it's going to be at all.
No. Anytime I go into like a role play, you know what I mean? One of those corporate role play things, they're all like, and the lawyer comes in, and obviously they go, so, you're a full-time actor. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm trying, and no, the now, and all that stuff. The usual pattern, and then they're like, oh, there's a lot of similarities between us. There's a lot of acting involved in what I do. And I was like, I bet there is. I bet the pressure would kind of get to me, I think.
I mean, I don't even understand how I could do that job. Like, in terms of the bigger picture of the job, I could totally, if somebody went like flounce about now and hit the table and say you object and all that. Like, I'd kind of love to do a legal drama or something like that, like as in direct it or like be in it or something. I would love. Don't know if I'd love to write it. I don't know if that would float my boat, but I would love to be like in the dramatic, say it like in the bullpen.
Yeah.
You know,
I've been called for jury duty 4 times and I've never gone once. And I thought, like,
did you never turn up, or did they not let you through?
Well, the first time I had an audition, so I told them that they let me go, and then the 3 other times I had things booked, like I just couldn't make it, sort of thing, right? But I thought, like, when I was younger, it was like you can't get out of it, like it is like you're so strict, but it's relatively easy. But next time I said I get it, right, I'm going to get it again a 5th time. I'm going to go because I want to see.
The theatre, like, it is. I mean, if it's hard to go, I think if it's a bad case, you might regret that. But it is that thing I've got, you know what I mean? But you go, there is something about it that probably appeals to us as actors in terms of going, it's so theatrical about how the language is different, and there's all these rules and who you're playing to the audience, to the jury, and you're manipulating language. Like, you go, it is totally a court of theatrics. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. What about when it comes to watching films? Like, is there an early memory you have of watching a film for the first time, or finding like a first favourite film, or even like when you went to the cinema for the first time?
Well, I've got cinema for the first time. It was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They'd re-released it in the 80s, and if I remember right, we went to this cinema, and all I remember is the witch coming on and running out my seat and hiding behind like the kind of barrier at the back.
Yep.
Utterly terrified of the witch and Snow White. I remember that quite vividly. Childhood film, I remember this old film called Champ. I think it was a film of my mum and my dad's. Have you ever seen Champ, John?
I don't think so. It rings a bell, but I don't think I've seen it.
Ricky Schroeder or something. He was in. He was like 6 or something. It's about an old boxer, and his dad gets killed in the boxing ring, and it's a wee boy screaming, "Get up, champ!" at the end. It would bring a tear to a glass eye. I remember being like 6 or 7 watching that, going, "His dad's dead, so he's died." I've never watched it as an adult, but I remember going, "He's dead," and then literally going, "Oh, people die. All right, this isn't great."
I'm having a great day.
You know what I mean? And then there's all like those films I think you watch in your childhood that you still put on as I call it the hangover days, like that are so totally associated with like being like 10 or something. Like mine's was all stuff like a lot about midlife films, like Big Business, or else there was like Goldie Hawn, Death Becomes Her, all the kind of like 1980s, early 1990s movies, Adventures in Babysitting. I probably watched that a million times on a loop.
Love
Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. I've probably could recite every single line. And then there's a couple of films. It's like me and my wee sister. She's 10 years younger than me. But I remember like maybe babysitting her and stuff. And we used to always watch either Mary Poppins or Calamity Jane.
Right.
Old school musical sort of thing. So there's loads like I was dead into films, but I would get a wee bit obsessed that I would want to watch it every week. Beaches, Midland Beaches, I must have watched about a million times growing up. Sad films again. So as a kid, I had like certain favourites, and even now I would still go back and watch the same things. And I missed out a big section. Like I've got to this age, and only during lockdown had I watched an Indiana Jones. Never seen it. I had never seen I've still never seen a Star Wars.
Oh, see, I was going to ask you about Star Wars.
Never seen a Star Wars. Never seen a Star Wars. There's certain films, still never seen something like Philadelphia. There's certain films, see when folk tell me you should watch this film, it pits me right off. And I almost avoid it.
I know what you mean. It's like, oh, you love this. How do you know?
I might not. I remember about maybe 5 years ago, my best pal Michelle was like, we're going to watch Stand By Me. Well, I was thoroughly unimpressed. She's like, this is my greatest childhood film ever. And I was like, no. I said, and then I remember another time I was like, I'm going to make you watch Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. And it was literally, my two pals were literally like, Joe and Michelle were just like, this is garbage. I don't understand why you think this is funny. It's absolutely the worst film I've ever seen.
There's nothing worse when you're sitting going like, wait, you'll love this, but wait to see this and you're howling.
And seeing a film, but also it's that weird thing when you watch it through somebody else's eyes, you start seeing all the flaws in it, and you go, "Oh, that is quite bad. Oh, I don't know if you should say that in this day and age. Oh, that isn't very good politics." Do you know what I mean? Like you start to whatever love you have here. It's a bit like when you have a holiday romance and you bring them home to meet somebody in the real life, and then you're like, "Oh, actually, no, this is a disaster." It feels a bit like that watching a film through somebody else's eyes.
Please don't judge me.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I just watched all the Star Wars with my partner, right? And she was like, I'm watching it and like she's enjoying it and stuff like that. But I'm like, this is one of my favourite movies of all time. And I'm getting really deep and serious. And then we're watching it and it's like folk jumping about the lightsabers and that. You know what I mean?
You're like, it's a metaphor for something else.
He's using the Force, look. And she's
totally
like, what?
In a way, you just need to have your own wee obsessions and keep it to yourself, innit? It's like,
I know.
It's like if you can find somebody and get them on. I used to always date with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I used to force people to watch Buffy and be like, don't worry about season 1. So for 13 episodes, I'd be like, it gets better. Wait till season 2. Wait till season 2. And then most of the time, folk would go on the journey with you season 2. And then sometimes you get to a point with pals and you'd be like, right, nah, just turn it off. You're never going to get this.
You're not enjoying this, are you?
You're ruining it for me now, actually. This is actually...
You can read the room. But I was sitting there like thinking, at this moment when I have a girlfriend one day, we're going to watch this film and it's going to be great. And then it actually happened and we're watching the film together and I was like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. This isn't as joyful as I thought it was going to be.
No, this is my love. Actually, that's what it needs to stay as.
Aye. Exactly. We do like to share this love.
Aye.
What about what you're watching just now? You got anything on rotation just now? Or can you remember the last time you went to the cinema?
The cinema actually, Scream 6 was last. So, and I went myself because it seems like, I don't know, all my pals, a load of my pals came with me to see Scream 5, and then I think they were like, right, we've indulged that, just you go yourself.
Scream 6 comes along and you're like, right, what is it now?
I was like, I need to go the day it's released because there'll be spoilers if I don't go. The day it's released, something's going to come up on TikTok or on Twitter, and it's going to be ruined, so I need to go. Folk were like, bye. But actually, I quite like the cinema myself, I have to be honest. I find it's the same as going to the theatre. I don't mind doing either of the things myself. I find them quite relaxing.
Yeah.
And also it lets me enjoy it rather than worry about if other folk are. I think I can get a bit of, I get too interested in what other folks' opinion is and the thing that I'm watching, that sometimes it can sway what I really think. So Scream 6, which I totally loved, but I love the Scream movies. And again, I think it's a wee bit of a bit of nostalgia, but it's like a new version of nostalgia. Do you know what I mean? So you're still getting Ghostface, I'm still getting Courtney Cox, and it feels like the same thing I went to see. I mean, I went to see the first Scream about whenever that came out. What is it, 20 years ago or something?
94 or something like that, 92.
Something like that, right? So I went to a midnight showing, and that first 10 minutes with Drew Barrymore, I remember turning around my pal Ian and literally going to him, if the whole film's like this, we need to go. I can't sit through this. This is too much.
Too scary?
Oh my God, I was terrified. I was literally like, this is my worst fear realised. Somebody watching me through windows going, what door am I coming through, the front or the back? I was like, no, I'm out of here. This is a nightmare. This is a nightmare. I don't think I can cope with that. And then the rest of the film gets much lighter, except for all the deaths, obviously. But like the first 10 minutes, I still go, that is a masterpiece to me in terms of being scared. I still go, that is my worst fears or imagined, being in a house myself and knowing somebody's stoating about.
Outside.
Terrifying.
He's watching me through windows.
And especially because she makes good decisions and all that. She doesn't make terrible decisions. So that's what's worse. Whereas when you watch some of the other films, you're like, idiot, you deserve this to happen to you.
What did you expect? You know what I mean?
Out the front door, no, out the upstairs balcony. What are you doing? Like, front door, back door. Come on now. Ground level. Stay on it.
Did you see the new horror film Megan that came out?
Yes. Basically a rework of Child's Play, though, innit?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you what you thought. I thought it was quite creepy.
I thought it was really good. Did you watch the last updated version of Child's Play, the one that's Aubrey Plaza?
No.
Watch it because it's pretty much identical, and it was out a few years before.
Right.
And it's basically Chucky's an AI machine, but the parental controls have been overrode, and it starts. So it's pretty much the same as Mexico. Yeah. I really liked it, but I kept going, this is the same as Child's Play. This is what they did in the Child's Play update. But I still liked it because I am a king of gadgets and everything's pure.
Right.
Alexa, turn my lights on and all that. So I still loved that, like, that AI thing where it can control your motor and it can control this and it'll be able to, the AI world will take us over and kill us. Do you know what I mean? So I liked it. And it's a good bit of comedy about it too.
It was. At some points I was like, I can't believe they just made that joke because it's totally a tone shift. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like when she's doing the weird wee dance and all that in the corridor. Like, this is just mad, but I'm kind of up for it.
It's mental. What about Smile? Did you see that one?
I've not seen Smile yet because I'm no sure. Sometimes if it's too scary, I don't like watching it in the house myself.
Got you. I mean, it was pretty scary. It was. I'm not good with horror. I'm not good with horror, but it was pretty scary.
I'm all right with horror if it's got comedy. I can watch it myself. But if there's something that I go, this might be the wrong side of horror, and it freaks me out. I watched that film. It's an older, The Strangers. Have you seen that?
I don't know.
And it's based on a true story. I'll not ruin it for you. It's a couple that basically go to an Airbnb late at night or something like that. They're at a wedding, and there's 3 people in like Mickey Mouse masks standing in the driveway, and they ring the doorbell, and it just goes downhill for there. So, and it's based on a true story. I'll not ruin it because the ending is kind of sensational. It's really good, but it unnerved me for days.
That's another thing. It's like a psychological thing, innit? You're just sitting there thinking about it for days.
Yeah, years ago.
Sorry, go on.
No, go for it. What one?
I was just going to say, have you seen Us? Jordan Peele film. That's a bit like that. Folk, you just look aside and it's the doppelgangers. They're all standing at the driveway.
You're like, don't answer the door. Don't answer the door. Why would you answer the door? It was years ago I went to see at the cinema Final Destination. And I swear to God, now it's probably also as well because I've got an overactive imagination. But for about 2 weeks, I felt like I was seeing my own death. I felt like death. I was going, this road looks really like it's jumping out at me. Something bad's going to happen. And I was like, I've not been in the real death. The Grim Reaper's coming for me. But I started imagining that it was coming for me. Do you know what I mean?
Aye. You just get like that sometimes, don't you? You just can't really.
That's when you go, it's a brilliant film when it gets, like, I still love one of my childhood films, and I should have been allowed to watch it, but you know what it's like, you do. Along with all like the beaches and stuff, my other childhood favourite was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Classic.
And like, I will still watch a Freddy Krueger quite happily. And to me, they're all works of genius. Even the terrible ones, I still love nothing better than watching a Freddy Krueger. I've watched the documentary about it. There's like an 8-hour documentary about it. And I've watched it about 4 times. Sometimes I put it on as I'm going to my bed at night. That's in the background, a Freddy Krueger documentary. And it's part nostalgia, and also because I love the terror of in your dreams, somebody could kill you and you die.
Aye, and that's it.
Aye, because also as well, you know that thing folk go, oh, you should never, if you die in your dreams, you die in real life.
Right.
I watch myself die in my dreams all the time.
And you're fine.
I'm still here, I'm talking to you, I'm not a ghost, hopefully.
I hope so.
Hope this isn't an episode of The Sixth Sense. But I love that. I love a horror when it's like a wee bit of psychological in it and you go, oh, that's interesting. Because also, Nightmare on Elm Street was based on real life stories of kids that were in, I think it was China, loads of kids that were sleeping and dying in their sleep from
right.
They knew what was the reason for it.
Well, I mean, a very similar film to Nightmare on Elm Street is Moulin Rouge.
Almost the same.
Almost the same. That must have been inspired. When I love the fact that you came back so quickly with this, because I was usually, a lot of people are like, I don't know my favourite film or whatever, but it's so hard to pick, you know what I mean? But when I asked you, Moulin Rouge was the first thing that came to mind straight away.
Easy. But I mean, I've got ones that I go, there's probably a top 10 for everybody, isn't there?
I know.
First place maybe changes now and again, but Moulin Rouge is probably a hard first for me. I don't think there's anything that will top it for loads of reasons, right? I've always loved musicals and I love pop music. And it felt like Moulin Rouge was almost somebody, I think the only way I can describe the same thrill, it was like somebody getting in your head and making something that you didn't know you needed.
Right.
It was a bit like when Apple released iTunes years ago. I felt like I was like a catalogue of music. This is my dream come true, where I can type in the song and it's going to play straight away. I don't need to fast forward tapes or change albums.
Yep.
When music went digital, I was like, oh my God, this is like somebody has invented the thing I've been waiting for my whole life. And that's totally what I felt like with Moulin Rouge. I remember that first 10 minutes and it's obviously taking you to Paris and all that. And it's like, I had no idea what I was watching because it's so many jump cuts and going like the clappers and I genuinely was like, and then he sings "The Hills Are Alive" with the Sound of Music at the top of the ladder, and I get the goosebumps. And then just when I thought it couldn't get, and then Nicole Kidman descends and all that, and then just when you think it couldn't get any better, Kylie fucking Minogue appears as a green fairy. I was like, this is like my dream come true. I've now got Kylie. And then, you know, I've always been a mad Kylie fan. I was like, this is like the world has came together. It gave me everything I've ever needed in life.
I mean, it's like a dream cast. And then you don't even think Kylie's going to be in it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Then you go, oh, aye.
It was meant to be Ozzy Osbourne. And he got recast at the last kick. He was meant to be the Green Fairy.
Really?
Yep. It was Ozzy Osbourne. He even recorded it. And at the very last minute, he swapped it to Kylie.
No difference. Jeez, oh.
No difference whatsoever, but they decided to go for a Tinkerbell rather than like a scary demon.
Wow.
And it was also my best pal, Michelle. Me and her went to see it during the day. And I just remember coming out the cinema and the two is buzzing.
Pure buzz.
Like literally just going, I cried my heart out at the end. I mean, I totally get if you don't like a musical, you're going to hate Moulin Rouge. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like a musical on steroids. If you go, why are they bursting into song? Then if you're a film purist, if you're like, what year is this set and how do they know the Beatles? You're not going to enjoy Moulin Rouge. Do you know what I mean? Like you're just no. But oh God, I just couldn't have loved it more. The art direction, I think, is amazing. Nicole Kidman, and it's also that thing which I love musical theatre, but what I love about it is that it's about acting first and foremost. You go, Nicole Kidman's no the best singer in the world by any manner of means.
No.
Acts the shit out it, and I'm like, that's all you need to be as an actor. You just need to fully commit. And I'd never seen her be as funny or as like old school Hollywood. And still, do you know what I mean? Like, just it was to me
and likable.
Likable, and the face fully moves, and you know what I mean? Like just sensational. And then you've got that big Roxanne number, which is all obviously proper dancers gone for the clappers, and Craig Armstrong, obviously Scottish composer. All the versions of the songs are stunning. Yeah, I think I went to see it at the cinema maybe 4 times, maybe 5. I just literally was like, I need to go back and see that. And I've watched it. I couldn't even tell you how many times I've watched it, especially that's another hangover film.
Yeah.
I watch all the deleted scenes, the storyboard scenes of what the alternate opening was going to be, the different makeup tests where Nicole Kidman had a short black bob and it doesn't look anywhere near as good as the hair they gave her. I'm a total geek on it.
I love that.
And then obviously they've done the stage show in London, which is good, but it's no the film. Nothing will beat the film.
I've not seen it. I've not seen the stage show.
It's good. It's good. It's a good night out. me and my pal Michelle again, we both went down this like going, well, we love this film together. It was one of the things where you do go, like the reverse of what you're saying with watching Star Wars with your girlfriend. It's one of the ones where you go with somebody and they love it just as much. So the two of you's almost come out and it's like you've been on, I don't know, it's like you've had an amazing night out on drugs or something like that. Not that I've ever taken drugs, but if I had, I'm sure that's what it would feel like. But you know what I mean? When you go, somebody else is just as hyped as you on it.
Brilliant feeling. Brilliant feeling.
Nothing better when you both come out and go, whether that's theatre or a song you love, or when you go to like a party or you're out on a night out and they play a song and the whole crowd goes mental. It's that same thing where you're just like, oh, this is what you do these things for, like communal experience, when you just go, this is why you go to the cinema.
Absolutely. Kind of had that last night. I went to see Paramore last night at the Hydro in Glasgow.
Right.
And it was like, it looked as if everybody was just having the best time. You know what I mean?
Did it go when they did Still Into You? I bet the crowd kicked off.
Not only is that like this song that kind of gets everybody into them, but in Scotland, was like the GBX remix.
It's the GBX remix I love.
It's totally turned up. So I almost don't think they know that. You know what I mean? Like Paramore don't know that. Why would they? You know,
it's a shame because if they'd come out and done that GBX remix of it, it would have went off.
I mean, it did go off the way it was, but I mean, imagine they just did that.
At that GB, I was in Lanzarote, I think it was Lanzarote, and it went on in a pub, and it was like, and it was one of the ones I thought it was just me and my pals knew. Do you know what I mean? The GBX version came on in Lanzarote, and the whole pub went tonto.
Aye. So that was crank. However, they stopped the concert 3 times. One because somebody had to get taken away in a stretcher, passed out. Second time somebody was fighting, I think, and then the third time they broke the drum. They broke the drum. So it was a pure like start-stoppy.
That's weird.
It was weird.
Welcome to Glasgow, isn't it? You go.
And she's like, "Thank you for being so patient." And it's like, it's all right. Let's just sit here waiting. You know
well, nothing else. We can't do anything else. We're waiting on you. So
take your time.
Aye.
It's all right. I'm still into you. Listen, I thought I'd seen this film, right? Moulin Rouge, right? I thought I'd seen it. I would have sworn to you I'd seen it when I was younger. I went on holiday one year, I think it was to Barcelona or something, and they did it at the resort or whatever, right? Or their version of it. So obviously it wasn't a big production, but they did the songs and stuff. Watching it back this week, I was like, I don't remember seeing this. It might have been just the Lady Marmalade music video I'd seen.
I was going to say it might have been actually.
You know what I mean?
Because it was on MTV all the time. But between Lady Marmalade and Come What May.
Right.
I think, and also, and they were always on MTV, so it might have been that you've seen the music videos and went, I think I've seen the film.
Totally. And I love that song. It's one of those ones that always comes on. It makes you think of Moulin Rouge, even though I don't know it as well as other people do. You know what I mean? It's just that immediate draw. Obviously, it's a music video, but it draws to you to that kind of time in the mid-2000s, early 2000s.
Well, it's also, that's the stage show. They start the stage show with a click, "Hey, still my soul." It's just the day that. So that's the opening number.
Cracking. That sounds good. What about Ewan McGregor, right? Like, I mean, I love Ewan McGregor. He's one of my favourite actors. What did this kind of do for him? Like, obviously, 2001, it's between Star Warses. It's like 5 years after Trainspotting. Like, was this a huge, another breakout for him? Or was it just another one of his jobs?
I don't know. See, I'm not sure Moulin Rouge. I don't know I never even checked to see like what kind of box office it did or anything. Like, I don't know if it was like I think it was out at the time musicals were still a bit untrendy. Like, I think musicals always get through. I think Chicago came out maybe the year after, and that sort of spiked musicals again. Mm-hmm. I felt like a lot of folk didn't really know Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
I just don't think people knew what to expect either. They think Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor, like, what is this going to be?
And I mean, it's that thing of like, because I did panto a couple of years later, and we had Come What May, we did a wee Come What May section at the end, and I remember thinking, a lot of the audience don't know this song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, this isn't as like well known a tune as I would like it to think it was.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ewan McGregor's eyebrows are quite crazy in it, aren't they? The makeup design really filled the eyebrows in with a black eyeliner, like nobody's business. But I think also it would be a big role for him in terms of, I don't know him knew he could sing like that.
It's a weird style of singing, isn't it? It almost comes for his toes.
I mean, when he sings Elton John, like that first bit, the lights going in Paris, I still get the goosebumps. I remember going, oh man, I couldn't love this. I mean, being in the cinema, I can still see me in this. What did you think it? Were you watching it? Are you a musicals person, Chris? Or are you like...
I think it definitely depends on the musical. You know what I mean? Like I don't love them all, but I do love my select few. And I did really enjoy this one. I loved how wacky it was. I loved how
Oh,
absolutely mental it
bonkers,
seemed. You know what I
bonkers,
mean?
aye.
And I'm going to Paris in June, and I'm just thinking, is this what it's going to be? Is this?
Unfortunately not. When I went to Paris, I was praying for it to be like that, but it wasn't. I
You
mean, it
off
was,
the off the plane, and it's just everything's going mental and singing
and
and
everyone's
dancing.
going, gang. Love it.
I was really hoping that's what happens, but maybe not. There's the character Toulouse, right? Is so funny. Um, he says on the stage at one point, like, "Oh, I don't know what to say, or I can't remember my line, or something." He says, and it made me think. Obviously, he kind of mentioned it earlier on, but in terms of you being on stage, whether it is panto or whatever, it has something. I mean, the whole thing is just a disaster. Like the last performance, right? All this stuff happens
Yeah.
and that. Has anything happened to you on stage where it's just a total? Like, we cannot fix this disaster. Obviously, nobody's hopefully died on stage with you, but like, I mean,
Nobody's been shot at by a duke, I don't think. Yeah, I've
yet.
not I've died of consumption. I've not had a co-star. Oh, we've had stuff where like you're calling on an actor, like you're doing panto and one of the actors actually collapsed in the wings and had to go to hospital and they're understudy. And so all I knew is somebody came in and was like, fill time. And I was like, what? And so you're filling time, going, I've no idea what's going on. And then all of a sudden an understudy comes on and you're like, what's going on in the wings? At Christmas Day in Wizard of Oz, I had my wee dog in it.
Right.
You know, the show, I don't know if the dog was on when you came to see it. Sometimes it was a puppet.
It was a dog, guy.
It was a dog, right? So we Dolly, I was like, I'll put the dog in it for Toto at the end. But there was one show where I go, the thing made a turn round and they passed me the puppet. And I know the dog's backstage and I'm like, and so I've got this puppet in my hand and they're going, it's everything. And they're nodding, going, it's okay. And I'm still doing the last bit and all that. Dolly's fine, she's fine. But in my head, I'm going, she's died. And they don't know how to tell me. They don't know how to tell me my dog's died. While singing Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You, probably with big mad starey eyes, thinking the dog is dead. The dog has died backstage. Something's happened when I've been on this stage. Oh no, what's happened? Of course, the dog was totally fine. She just needed the toilet. So it was like, didn't want to come on stage. Because I'd forgot to take all that at the interval. From the RSPCA to me. But like there's always in panel stuff goes wrong all the time.
Right.
There's been stuff where, you know, tech, where one of my first shows I'd ever done, I was on stage as an actor and a bit of scenery fell out the sky. Luckily, everybody. Like when I went to see Spider-Man years ago, I went to America on holidays and it was just when Spider-Man was opening in Broadway and I thought I'm going to go and see a preview of that. Well, the poor Spider-Man gets stuck halfway up in the first minute, dangling in the ceiling. And they were like, the Spider-Man is having to stop for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. And this poor actor dangling up in the ceiling for like 5 minutes till they all had to like try and get him down and all. It was just
in front of the audience.
Oh, it was already, but I love that. Do you know what I mean? And in a way, like you're lucky. I've had stuff where I forgot to come on once for a show and left another actor on stage by themselves for like maybe only 10 seconds, but I was...
He was like forever.
Yeah, but she was like, thank you for that. I've just been standing there doing nothing for 10 seconds. Like, things, I think those things just happen all the time. Like, luckily, it's never been a like life-threatening, horrible disaster.
Right.
There's been fire alarms galore. I've had multiple fire alarms where, especially in panto, when you're then standing outside with the audience dressed as Dorothy. Or one year I was a prawn cracker outside McBall dressed as a cracker. Do you know what I mean? In the pouring rain, you're just like, yep, there goes the illusion.
This is Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, one and all. The cracker is standing. All those sort of like. But I kind of, that's what I love about it. Like you go, I think that's why we all go to see live theatre, that you want the feeling of I remember years ago watching the Crankies and her microphone pack fell out while they were doing a routine and I was screaming with laughter. I was like, this couldn't be funnier. She just dealt with it so brilliantly. And I went to see it again because I loved it so much. I was like, oh my, and I think the Crankies are amazing, right?
Yeah.
I absolutely think Jeanette Cranky is a god. And went to see it again and it turned out it happened every night. It was
part of the thing.
I was devastated.
Were you devastated?
Devastated. Like I hate a false corpse. I've never dated as an act. I never date if I'm directing a panto. I'm like, you don't do a false corpse. I know it's things and loads of folk love to do it. I can't bear it because of that experience with the Crankies. I was like, nah, it needs to be live. And if you laugh in that night, laugh, that's fine, but don't fake it. Make it real. Folk want a real experience of
absolutely.
When we mess up, let's just run to it, but let's no kid on we're rubbish. Let's try and be the best version of what we can be when it all falls apart. It's all the more glorious. Also, I tried it once. I had to do a fake corpse in a panto. The director had asked me to do it right at the very beginning, and I cringed every time I did it. I was just like, I don't think I'm a good enough actor to make this seem
No,
real.
I know, but do you know what I think when you need to fake laugh? It just seems so like you can't do it. Like anybody, I love laughing, but you can't fake it. Like,
No,
see,
it's
you're taking
horrible.
pictures with somebody and they're like, oh, do a smiley one, do a laugh.
Oh,
And you
it's
just start
horrible.
laughing. It's just so random.
It's horrible. I hate it. And it genuinely makes me cringe and my skin crawl. I can't do it.
Not to change topics or anything, but like, what about the moment where Satine dies right backstage? They've just killed this scene, no pun intended. They've just smashed this scene. They go backstage again, and she dies there in his arms and stuff. Oh my god, what a shit! I was like, whoa! I was totally taken. It floored me. It was totally total tone shift. You know what I mean?
And then you get other bits when you go back and rewatch it, right? Because it's first time you've seen it. See if you went back and watched it again, the moment, see when she first appears on the big trapeze.
Aye.
And when you watch her get lowered down, you see her face for the first time, and it immediately cuts to her dying, and then it goes back to her face.
Really?
So flashes of dying right the very first time you see her death shot and all that as well.
Because there's loads of quick cuts and stuff in there that kind of try to be artistic, yeah.
Aye, and then you go, oh, it's all there, like, because it's Greek storytelling that they all know she's going to die. And I think I've always loved a Greek play. Like, I love all the Greeks because they'll go, this is a play where we all die at the end, and then you still go, please don't die. It feels quite like a Greek kind of tragedy, which is, I think, why I also love it. Like, it's kind of camp and also I like nothing better than when they're all singing and greeting and dying. Do you know what I mean? Like, anybody that hates a musical is like, why is she singing? She's Dean. Why is she singing? And I'm like, shut up. I'm having a good, I mean, I bawled my eyes out at that scene at the cinema.
Imagine.
Uncontrollable. Like,
what did you make of The Greatest Showman when it came out in 2017? Because it's almost like the modern day attempt at something like Moulin Rouge.
It's Greatest Showman. I think because I knew the soundtrack before. I think everybody knew that soundtrack, didn't they? I expected it to be a story in between. It just felt like loads of pop music videos, and there wasn't any like actual spoken. There was hardly any spoken words. I think the music's amazing.
So, yeah, absolutely. And even the reimagined when they did that cover album was really good too.
Totally. And like, I love the reimagined, like the Pink and Kelly Clarkson and all that. Like, I think it's really, the music's really good, but it didn't have this sort of, and also like Moulin Rouge feels more gay.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It feels like a gayer story. It feels really, and I in some ways, I think I was probably coming out at that point as well. So I think I was just really into that, the kind of campness and the kind of, you know, no to say the Great Showman's butch, by no manner I mean is it butch, but it's not quite as flamboyant. I don't think Moulin Rouge, do you know what I mean? Now love all that kind of big decadence over the top. And also the pop, like the original songs of Great Showman are brilliant, but I loved that it was pop songs and all that, where the bit in the bit where it goes into Material Girl, like Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, they do a totally wee bit. We're living in a material world and they do a bit of Madonna voguing. I was like, oh my God, it's back in my brain again. I can't believe Madonna references. We've got Kylie. And this is all I need. It's like everything I love in one big, like, cauldron.
Yeah, I guess when I saw The Greatest Showman, I was like almost expecting to be pure, like uplifted, you know what I mean? And I just wasn't, but the soundtrack's great.
And I didn't cry. I think it's that weird thing when you know, it's like years ago, I remember hearing the soundtrack of Wicked, and I was like, I can't wait to see this because I loved all the songs, and I was like, that song's so sad, I'm going to greet at that. But and then you watch it and you're like, oh, I didn't feel that. It didn't hit. Like, the song is amazing, but something doesn't quite hit.
Got you.
I felt like that with Greatest Showman. There was bits where I was like, I don't know who I'm meant to feel sorry for here.
That's always an issue in films, I think. Who am I supposed to like here? You know what I mean?
Like, I don't know if I feel sad for you.
No, I know. So this is the Good Bit podcast. I always ask my guests, what is your favourite bit or the best bit of this film? Hardest question, probably.
No, I know it. I've got two bits. I'm only allowed right. I'll do two bits. Elephant Love Medley, where they do love lifts us up where we belong. All you need is love. All you need is love. And they do all the hundreds of pop songs ending on Dolly Parton, I Will Always Love You.
Yeah.
Fireworks go off in the back. That whole song, I remember just watching it going, it's like 30 pop songs all mashed into one big thing.
Yeah.
It shouldn't work, and yet it had me hook, line, and sinker. And I can tell you every intonation the two of them do in that song. If you put the song on now and dip the volume down, I'd be bang on time when you put the volume back up. Do you know what I mean? That bit, and when they do the big tango to Roxanne,
Yeah.
I just was like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So they're probably the two bits that when I think of Moulin Rouge, and also probably I'll have to Kylie appearing as a great fairy still.
So unexpected, you know what I mean?
But they've been my two bits, I think, that jump out at me.
Nice. I always like the bit at the end. Well, I say always, I've just saw it for the first time, but I like the bit where he's just leaving at the end, and he turns around and he joins up just before she dies, and he joins in. That's probably my favourite bit.
Beautiful, come with me, and he does high notes and all that. Oh, it's smashing.
It's a cracker. Okay, cool. What else is going on just now then? So you got what's lined up, what's coming up the rest of the year?
Now, and it's not even deliberate on still a musical theme. I start rehearsals this week for a show up at Dundee Rec called No Love Songs. It's Kyle Faulkner, who was lead singer of The View.
Right,
it's his solo album, and it's a musical based on this album called No Love Songs for Laura, and it's myself and Kyle's partner Laura. We've written the book, and it's Kyle's songs, and it's a two-hander musical. That's so we start rehearsing that in Dundee. It's going to the festival. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the venue, but it does Dundee, and then it goes on to the festival. I think venue to be announced.
That's fine. Just keep posted. Keep us posted.
Let's do that. So I've got that the new, and I've got that, and then I've got an Odd and More, which is a musical working with Nova Sound on in a couple of weeks called Meet Me at the Knob, and it's a kind of imagining of years ago. There was a kind of group of men who wore drag in the 1920s, and they were like bribing court judges, and they were totally running the Glasgow kind of gangster world. So it's a kind of wee imagining, a wee vignette of what that might be like.
Nice, very good. And you're not on the socials, are you, as well? You've just come off the show.
I don't date any. I'm one of the old people now that just, I reached a point where I was like, I'm wasting too much time on the socials, and I'm doing it with a nosy factor. So I know I completely came off the socials, and now I'm one of the annoying, irritating people that are like, I don't do that. It's only because I've got no willpower. So
I know it's so weird. 1 minute you see something dead funny, and then the next minute you're seeing someone like sending threats to someone. It's just there's no point. There's no point in seeing it.
I've still got a hidden secret social account where I can go and see the bin fire that is Twitter every now and again. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
And that just reminds me why it's better not to be on it.
Aye, totally. Absolutely. Well, Johnny, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
It was a total pleasure, Chris.
And please come back if you want to do something else. We can do another film. We can chat more horror films, more daft horror films. Maybe I'll watch the new Child's Play. We'll do that one.
What one?
The latest Child's Play. Did you know say there's one?
Oh, that's good. I watch it. I think you'll like it.
Okay, cool. And then if you watch Smile, we can do that one as well.
I'll do Smile. I'm going to get somebody to watch it, but aye.
Cheers, Johnny. See you later.
You too, Chris. Take care.
Citizens